Good morning guys, it's Monday morning, 6:15. I'm down in London. I'm on my way this morning to Sompting to do the next workshop with Sompting Village Primary School for the Worthing project. I must admit I'm not a morning person, but on occasions like this when I do get up really early, and it feels really early for me because I do not normally get up at 6 o'clock, and setting out bright and early feels really good. Looking forward to today, really looking forward to seeing the kids at Sompting again, and making some music. Right, let's go.
This is Brighton. This train terminates here.
Okay, so I'm in Brighton Station. Brighton's just a short striking distance of Lancing, but the plan is to try and get some breakfast here. And I also want to talk to you about music education projects. Right, I feel a lot better now I've had tea. British music fueled by tea. Okay.
We are now approaching Southwood.
So I wanted to talk about music education projects a bit. I realise you might wonder why I do all this education work. Well, one reason is I love it, but another reason is a historical reason, and a practical reason, which is that since the Second World War, music, Western art music, in Europe has been funded largely by the state, rather than by private patrons, which is maybe more the model you had before the Second World War. And in order to justify giving public funds to orchestras, etc., you have to be able to say that it creates some kind of public benefit usually. Now sometimes people think there's enough public benefit just by making music, and that's great, but sometimes if you want to get music funded by the state, you have to show some kind of public benefit beyond just performing music. And a classic way to do that is through education. So in the 20th century, so kind of after the Second World War, orchestras started doing more and more music education work and started to develop their own little teams of people who would do this on a regular basis. And it's fairly normal now, certainly in this country and certainly other countries as well, to have a full-time little team of people who will do outreach education work in an orchestra or in an arts institution. Now very often this stuff is done wonderfully. Occasionally though there is a problem that education outreach work can be done by arts organisations perhaps a bit more because it's required than because there's a real passion for it, or sometimes it can be done as a sort of afterthought, I think. Not that it's ill meant, but that it's seen as maybe kind of an additional sort of bolt-on thing. I think some composers see it as a thing they sort of bolt on to their work, but their real thing they want to be doing is writing pieces for the BBC Symphony Orchestra or whoever. My approach to composing, as you may have gathered, is that I love working with professionals, but I love working with kids as well. I love working with community musicians. I think the role of a composer is to be able to write for everyone and to do different things, and you can achieve different things with different kinds of people. And I really want my work, I really want my music to not distinguish between your professionals and your amateurs in a hierarchical way. I don't want my music to be like my proper music to be for professionals, and then like my not so good music for children or for amateurs. In terms of funding, a lot of the stuff that I do, as I've mentioned before, is funded not by the state, it's funded by private patrons. I personally think the business model that artists need to pursue now is more the private patronage route, because there isn't so much money from the state, and I don't think we should be relying on the state. And that's another video, maybe another conversation. But even if you are relying on private patrons, it's often good to say, well look, we're not just making music, but we're doing some kind of obviously beneficial educational exercise. So it was really important to me when I set up this Worthing project that there was some kind of educational aspect to it, and that's why I'm doing this stuff in Sompting. As I say, I don't see it as kind of bolt-on, I see it as very much central to what I do. Okay, here I am. Sompting Village Primary School. Let's do this.